WGNS, part of your Good Neighbor Network. And I'll talk to you later.
The Good Neighbor Network, on air and online at wgnsradio.com. Rutherford County's most trusted source for local news. CBS Radio News.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. It's payday, and thousands of federal workers are only getting partial checks because of the more than 2-week-old shutdown. Others aren't getting paid anything at all. The pain could go deeper. Correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns.
President Trump is threatening more targeted cuts.
We're closing up programs that are Democrat programs that we were opposed to. So we're being, and they're never going to come back.
His comments came during a meeting with Argentinian President Javier Milei, whose country has been offered a $20 billion bailout by Trump.
The Supreme Court is set to hear arguments this hour in a case that could undermine one of the last surviving parts of the Voting Rights Act and flip states from blue to red. CBS's Jan Crawford.
The court has restricted the use of race in other areas, such as when it ended affirmative action in college admissions. And if the justices use that reasoning in this case, that could really change the rules for how states draw up their legislative districts. The political implications could be huge, including in those current redistricting efforts for the midterms, possibly as soon as next year.
Homeland Security has complied with an order to dismantle protections around an ICE facility in Broadview, Illinois. CBS News Chicago's Ezel Rezai.
The fence coming down exactly 3 weeks after it went up. There was an 11:59 overnight deadline. We're seeing now that deadline was met. We know the fence went up on September 23rd, and just last week, a federal judge approved the village's request to remove the fence. They said it was a hazard, with neighbors also complaining it limited access and visibility.
The bodies of 2 dead hostages being buried in Israel today. A funeral for a third already held. A 4th set of remains identified today as a Palestinian. And Hamas is taking policing to an extreme in Gaza. Linda Gradstein from Jerusalem.
Hamas published a video showing its armed men publicly executing 8 men who were blindfolded, bound at the wrists, and kneeling in the street. The group said it was carrying out death sentences against collaborators with Israel and outlaws. The Palestinian Authority sharply condemned the Hamas crackdown.
NATO getting ready to stand up to Vladimir Putin,
with Russia staging ever bolder incursions into NATO airspace.
If it poses a threat, I can assure you that our military people have all the authorities they need to make sure that that plane immediately does not pose a threat anymore.
NATO Chief Mark Rutte affirming that NATO's rules of engagement do allow the alliance to shoot down Russian military aircraft, manned or unmanned, if necessary. Vicki Barker, CBS News, London.
This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
For 75 years, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic has been a cornerstone of health and compassion in our community. From our humble beginnings to the advanced, comprehensive care we offer today, our commitment to you has never wavered. With 8 locations across Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee and over 100 physicians, we continue to provide the highest standard of care. Then, now, and always, your health is our mission.
Anywhere else, their local issues. WGNS, AM, FM, online. We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Welcome into the Roundtable here on WGNS. Chip Walters with you from Exit Realty, Bob Lamb & Associates, and the Blue Raider Network, and today we're talking about one of all of our favorite subjects, and that is food. And happy to have Sarah Harris of the Health Sciences Department at MTSU joining us today. And Sarah, I will say this, that I saw your segment on Channel 2 a little bit ago. I said, I need to have her on the show, and because you did a great job in a little short time there today. But we're going to hit some good subjects today. And first of all, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Good deal. Good deal. One of your areas of, well, first of all, you're a two-time MTSU alum. So kind of tell people about your educational journey that has gotten you, I guess now I should be calling you Dr. Harris, correct?
Is right. Yes. So I went to MTSU as an undergrad from 2006 to 2010 and graduated with a degree in nutrition and food science, and then came back to work for MTSU in 2021, and that's when I joined the PhD program and graduated in May. So yeah, it's been
yeah, congratulations on that, Dr. Harris. And so I'm curious, where did you grow up, and how did you end up at MTSU for your undergrad?
Yeah, I grew up in the Memphis area, Arlington, Tennessee, so just right outside of Memphis. And I wanted to escape home, but I didn't want to be too far away to where I couldn't go visit, because I do love my family and the town that I'm from. So it was just far enough away, but not so far.
I totally understand that. And well, we're glad you're here. And we're going to be talking, we're kind of basically breaking this up into three different areas today. And the first one is going to be sports nutrition. And I know you're a hiker and a runner, and there are a lot of folks who are listening and watching that are weekend warriors, that kind of thing, as well as, I deal with the student athletes at MTSU who are big time, have to, they're serious about their athletic ability and have to be very serious about what they put in their bodies. And let's kind of concentrate first of all on the weekend warriors and moms who are, have kids that are, whether they're playing soccer or softball or whatever it may be. Do you worry about, or should they be concerned about, with little kids who are young athletes, with sports nutrition, or is that something that would come later?
Well, it depends on the level that the child is playing at. If you have a gymnast, for example, that is performing at an elite level as a child, you'll be more concerned about their nutritional requirements than you would, a recreational soccer athlete. But all kids that are athletes can benefit from the right nutrition. Because if a child's not eating enough, or if they're not eating enough of the right foods, they will go into competition or practice and feel very low energy, fatigued. They won't be able to perform well. And then you'll have the parent on the sideline, hustle, move, as they, sometimes they don't want to because they're not fueled properly. It's amazing how much what we eat, no matter our age, affects how we move and how we perform in our energy levels.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you go eat the big lunch and you have that 2:00 want to take a nap, kind of thing. But in dealing with, like, when you get, go to the next level, in like, for instance, the Blue Raider football team, they're right in the middle of their season. Volleyball, soccer, they're all playing right now. And in the new Steve and Denise Smith Student Athlete Performance Center,
the thunderclap
you walk
shakes
in,
the ground.
and the very first thing you see
What's your
is
move
a nutrition
those colossal
station.
beasts?
And that's, I think that's one thing we have learned over the last 30, 40 years, is the old computer phrase, garbage in, garbage out. And the quality of what goes into your body is the quality of what's going to come out.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we have I don't know how long they've had those nutrition tables, but I do know we have a dietitian on campus now. It's working with our athletes. Her name's Lindsay, and she's great.
Yeah, and so they and with that in mind, they're kids, they've got more energy anyway. When I say kids, I'm talking about these 18 to 22-year-olds, and they a lot of times will throw whatever into their bodies. But for parents who are trying to, they've got, we talked about the younger kids, but also the middle school, high school kids who are playing the numerous sports. How much meal planning should you be doing with your kids? Or, it's a lot easier sometimes to just pull it together or call Grubhub or whatever, but it really does make a difference.
Planning does make a difference. Yeah, and it's so hard to stick to a plan. But even just taking a few minutes a week to plan out your week, to plan your grocery list out. Yeah, where you get in trouble is where there's zero plan at all. And I find myself in that situation too, because I am a working mom. I'm homeschooling my son. I am coaching his soccer team. There's a lot going on all the time. And so I am just as guilty of anyone else as having zero plan. So yeah, planning is always a good thing to do, but also just knowing that when you don't, there are healthier options that you can choose. Like if you are ordering Grubhub or you're going to a restaurant, there are healthier options for an athlete. One big one, especially I'm thinking of my kids who play soccer.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't need is a very high fat meal right before a game or a practice. And by that, I mean like a fried chicken or fried chicken sandwich or French fries. Foods that have a high fat content can make them feel a little more sluggish. It empties in the stomach slower. So it kind of just sits. And then all the energy that the child would be using on performance is just busy metabolizing their food for a little bit too long. So a higher protein, higher carbohydrate meal right before a practice or competition is better for a kiddo than a higher fat meal. So that's one of the things that even if you don't have a plan and you're going to a restaurant, you can, choose something that may not be fried. Opt for the apple slices instead of the fries, things of that nature, if you know that the child's about to perform.
Yeah. We've for years, we've seen athletes and in particular runners that they'll carb load like day before or night before event. Kind of give me in a perfect world, if let's say here we are on a Wednesday and we've got high school football coming up on Friday night, and moms want to make sure that their high school football player is going to get into their body the right kind of foods 24 48 hours leading up to competition on Friday night. Give us a couple of samples, meals of what needs to go into the body and how the body of the football player is going to react on whether it's Wednesday night, Thursday night, leading into Friday night.
So I would actually argue that carbohydrate loading may not be necessary for the Friday night football athlete. Just a generally higher carbohydrate diet all the time at baseline would be better for that type of athlete. Also, they're putting out power and strength more than, for example, a runner would be. So emphasizing protein just as much as you would emphasize carbohydrate. A sample meal, right off the top of my head, I'm thinking of a like marinara pasta with, I love some ground turkey instead of ground beef. That's just my preference. Ground beef would be just as fine, but turkey is lower in fat and it sits better as an athlete than the ground beef would. But so a spaghetti meal would be appropriate with a salad on the side, for example. That's your traditional carb loading meal, right?
Right.
But it's quick to make. Kids enjoy it. So that would be one. And then another meal I could think of, like a baked potato with squash, zucchini, and onion cooked in the oven, and grilled chicken.
There you go.
Roll, and then some fruit for dessert, and a glass of milk. There you go.
Good. Gotcha. Now timing on game day. Let's say they're playing at 7:00. 7:00 kickoff. I mean, I travel with our football and basketball teams at MTSU, and pregame meal is typically 4.5 hours prior to competition. So they go in and it's there's normally some pasta, there's normally chicken, there's normally green vegetables, things like that, 4 hours prior to. How heavy a meal and how much can you process that pregame meal prior to 4 hours prior to whether it's a football, basketball game where you're going to be exerting a lot of energy?
What a great question. And that brings up the point of timing, and also brings up the point of individualization in nutrition, especially sports nutrition, because some athletes could eat a very high fat, high calorie meal an hour before and feel great. Other athlete, same sport, may absolutely lose all of whatever they ate on the field. They would eat that close to performing. So it really comes down to each individual's ability to metabolize food. We all metabolize food at different rates, but I would say 2 to 4 hours before a peak performance like that would be appropriate. And they'll keep even maybe a little small snack right before, depending on how they again respond to food in their stomach while they're performing. I'm a long distance runner, so and I eat the whole time I'm running. So
yeah. Oh, do you really?
Yeah. Like when you're running like a 50-mile or more, or even just a 30-mile run, even just a marathon. I mean, you're consuming calories. You have to consume calories while you're running, or you will not be able to finish. It's like a requirement of the job. But obviously in like a football game or basketball game, they don't necessarily exerting quite as much, of the same type of energy. So yeah, 2 to 4 hours before. And again, going back to what I said, the low fat options are going to be better. So emphasizing protein and high quality carbohydrates.
Yeah, gotcha. Now, is it important to stay on a schedule and to be, don't where you're not tricking your body again, that like you talked about 2 to 4 hours. Well, and the thing is, like, I'm around they get to be creatures of habit, and they could almost walk in their sleep into a pregame meal 4 hours prior to tip off or kickoff, whatever it might be. But it would seem that you learn your body and to be on a normal schedule. You don't want to really throw that off if you are an athlete at a high level, whether football, basketball, whatever it might be, as a varsity athlete, or even yourself as an elite long distance runner. And how much stuff do you carry in your little bag when you're running and I'm going to use your word, just a marathon, so just 26 miles?
Oh, for 26 miles. So I wear a Garmin while I am running, so it tells me how many calories I burn for each mile, essentially. So again, back to the individualization, I know I'll burn somewhere between 80 and 100 calories per mile. So multiply that by 26, I'm burning at least 2,600 calories in a marathon. So, or somewhere in that neighborhood. So I try to have that amount of calories with me, or even just like 75% of those calories with me. Because you can kind of front load calories, and you can, back after the marathon, you're eating a lot, to compensate for what you lost, but I carry a lot in I do always run with a pack, and I carry a lot in it.
Is there any danger of an athlete that gets into a calorie disadvantage to where, or is it just going to, their performance is going to just trail off?
Yeah, just decreased performance. In running, they call it bonking or hitting a wall.
Got
you feel great, you're doing great, and then you hit that wall where you feel like you just can't keep going. That is very much related to nutritional intake.
Gotcha.
So if there's an athlete or a basketball athlete that, in the middle of a game regularly, they're starting to feel like they are hitting that wall during a game, they need to increase their fuel. So maybe they need to eat a little bit closer to the time of the game, or eat a snack or something, maybe even in the middle, or making sure they're drinking something with calories.
Yeah.
Like a game.
No. Gotcha. And they have, around, they have plenty of, they make sure that, and our folks do a good job of making sure they have, plenty of fluids and all of that to go around. Dr. Sarah Harris is our guest today on the WGNS Roundtable. We're going to go from the youngsters to the oldsters. We're going to talk about nutrition for those who are aging. That's coming up after this, right here on WGNS.
For 75 years, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic has been a cornerstone of health and compassion in our community. From our humble beginnings to the advanced, comprehensive care we offer today, our commitment to you has never wavered. With 8 locations across Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee and over 100 physicians, we continue to provide the highest standard of care. Then, now, and always, your health is our mission.
What's the location of your emergency? I think my kid OD'd.
Hi, I'm Craig Harris. I'm County Commissioner of Rutherford County. One of the reasons I ran for office is because I wanted to bring awareness to the opioid epidemic that's impacting our county. To stop providing this epidemic with people as we educate. We have a lot to do, and we have to come together as a community because this problem is not going away.
This message brought to you by the Central Tennessee Regional Solid Waste Planning Board. Visit recyclerightTN.com for tips, ideas, and locations on where to recycle near you.
Don't be trashy, recycle classy, recycle right, Tennessee.
Recycling isn't just about tossing materials in a bin, it's about knowing which materials are accepted. Go to recyclerightTN.com.
Recycle right, Tennessee.
Are you tired of feeling like just another number with your insurance provider? At Rayburn Insurance Agency in Smyrna, Agent Rick Hall prides himself on offering personalized service that puts you first. Every client's needs are unique. From personal home and auto coverage to tailored business insurance, Rick Hall's got you covered. Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency in Smyrna, where you're more than just a policy number. You're a neighbor.
This is Richard Parton, and I'd like to tell you about Adam's Place.
What have you enjoyed most?
The food. It's perfect. Well, the first 60 days that I was here, the only thing I ate was the filet, and that is still my favorite. That's really great. And you can just order what you'd like, and it's well prepared and delicious.
This is Terry Deal. Come tour Adam's Place and discover living a dream in your senior years.
Good Neighbor Events is brought to you by the law offices of John Day, AmeriCare Pest Control, and Old National Bank.
This is a paid legal ad.
When a family member is lost as a result of someone else's negligence, the grief can be unbearable. It also leaves you with a lot of questions like, how did this happen? Who's responsible? And is my family going to be okay? That's a lot to go through, but with the law offices of John Day on your side, you don't have to go through any of it alone. We understand what you're going through, and we have the experience to get the answers, justice, and compensation your family deserves. Call the law offices of John Day.
WGNS encourages you to shop local. Patronize our local family businesses. The Walk to End Alzheimer's is this coming Saturday morning at MTSU's Dean Hayes Track and Soccer Stadium. Registration is at 8 o'clock Saturday morning. The Promise Garden ceremony is at 9, and the walk begins at 9:30. That's the Walk to End Alzheimer's, this Saturday morning at MTSU's Dean Hayes Track and Soccer Stadium. And for 5 days this week, it's the Cytosport Dog Agility World Games at the Tennessee Miller Coliseum. That's October 15th through 19th from 9 in the morning until 5 in the evening at the Tennessee Miller Coliseum. Again, admission is free. Explore the Cannonsburg Village after dark, 6 until 9 in the spooky evening, October 17th and 18th. Admission $5 per person. Children ages 5 and younger are admitted free. That's this weekend at Cannonsburg Pioneer Village. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
We'll see sunny skies here for this afternoon, a high in the low 80s. Tonight, mostly clear, low 55. Thursday, sunny, high of 79. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki from the WGNS Rutherford Weather Center. Currently, it's 54.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. Through Sharing Change, MTE members round up their bills to support local nonprofits. Find out more how your spare change can make a difference at sharingchange.org.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Welcome back into the Roundtable on this Wednesday. Chip Walters with you from Exit Realty, Bob Lamb and Associates and the Blue Raider Network. And Dr. Sarah Harris of MTSU joins us today. And we're talking nutrition. Our first segment, we talked about athletes, which lends itself to younger people and kids and things like that. But now we talk about nutrition for folks who are starting to age. And I put myself in that as well, because I'm 62 years old now, Sarah, and I find myself, my appetite is different. My appetite for certain things is different. Certain foods taste different than they did 10, 15 years ago. Am I crazy, or is that somewhat normal?
Oh man, that's gonna happen to all of us. Yeah, our taste buds change, our ability to taste salty foods, sweet foods diminishes as the taste buds wear down. Our hormones change drastically. We're no longer in a growth state, so we need less food, we need less sleep. Yeah, you're normal.
Oh, wow! Thanks for that. Now for folks who, when do you, as a professional, start to talk to people about nutrition for people who are aging? When does that start to kick in? Because I think okay, what really is middle aged? And I used to think that a 62-year-old person was really old, but now that gets younger every day, as far as I'm concerned. But when should people start to, number one, start to notice that things are a little different as far as what their body is intaking and processing, and how should they start to take a look at that?
Well, you can tell when you're no longer able to eat the same amount of food and maintain the same weight. It becomes pretty obvious when you're eating the same way you did when you were 30 or 40, but your calorie needs overall are less. It kind of sneaks up on you a little bit. And so you'll notice increasing weight, even slowly over time. And that can be a good indicator that your calorie needs have gone down a bit. Yeah, that's the best way to find.
Yeah, and and the types of food as you get older um also have a need, and I would guess certain, and this is just total spitballing, you're the professional here, but you talk about, bone density and all these other problems that we never had to even worry about in our 30s, that when you're in your 60s and 70s, those things start to play a role. What things, as far as number one, foods, and number two, supplements that may be going with your food, do people who are, you know, who are starting to retire and become senior citizens, what do they need to look at?
I think an emphasis at that point on a higher protein intake, that would be
The
what I
eerie
would
mist cloaks our
prioritize
path. Can
in
you
an
hear those
aging
whispers?
person's
What's your
diet,
next move against the
because that's
shadows?
kind of what starts to go the quickest. I work in nursing homes still. I teach nutrition and aging at MTSU, but I also work in nursing homes. And, they just want their like honey buns, their little sweet thing, and their coffee. And that tastes so good and it makes you feel good, right? But nutritionally speaking, it's really not doing much for the person. So trying to sneak protein into foods if you have to. Smoothies are a good way to do that. Adding Greek yogurt, which is really high in protein. It also has calcium for our bones that start to slowly deteriorate. But you can put that in a smoothie with lots of fruit and make it sweet and taste good. I have a lot of especially the older ladies in nursing homes, they do not want to eat any meat, but it's what they
Really?
they need that protein. But yeah,
So
the taste is like you said.
here we are. I mean, we grew up in the South, and we like our biscuits, we like our gravy, we like our, sausage and bacon and country ham, and a lot of it comes down to choices, and sometimes, as you've alluded to a couple of times here, whether it's the product you choose or the way it's prepared, can all make a difference.
Oh yeah, that's very true. You mentioned all those breakfast foods, the biscuits and the and sausage and bacon, and all that is just sodium, fat, and carbs. There's like very little protein in any of that. But it tastes so good, right?
Sodium, fat, and carbs does not sound nearly as romantic as pancakes and syrup. That doesn't sound quite as. But I get exactly where you're coming from. But again, getting the day started, we always have heard breakfast is the most important meal of the day. As we get older, is that more or less true?
Oh, that's a good question. That really just depends on the person also, but also like I think as humans, we're just animals at the end of the day. Rhythms are very, very important for just like that. I don't know if you have animals. I have cats. They have the same exact routine every day. They ask for food at the same time. They sleep at the same time. They're creatures of habit. And I think the more we can keep ourselves on a regular schedule, sleeping and eating, the better off we are mentally, physically, and in all ways. So keeping a schedule and a rhythm in our life and in our eating, I do think is important. And I also think that eating smaller meals multiple times throughout the day, so kind of a grazing, but every 3 hours, for example, while you're awake, is I see that as being a superior way to eat than eating, like, for example, one very large meal once a day. Some would argue that, and again, that goes back to individualization. Some people are great and feel good eating one very large meal each day. But as far as like our blood sugar regulation and our moods and keeping everything in a rhythm, eating more frequently throughout the day is better. So keeping that breakfast in our day is, in my professional opinion, important.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So that does not mean McDonald's drive-through at 7 a.m., Hardee's drive-through at 10 a.m. That means be smart about what you're eating in those 3-hour intervals.
Smaller, more frequent meals. Yeah. I kind of think back to, you can relate this to, back to the young kids we were talking about. When babies come out, they eat every 3 hours, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not even super sure that we should ever stop eating like that on that, small meals throughout the day. Just even for the sole fact of optimal blood sugar regulation. Because the diabetes epidemic is huge, especially in the older population. So those smaller, more frequent meals can help with that.
Well, let's go down that path a little bit because I'm right there. I'm a type 2 diabetic, and I keep it under control, and with and I can tell when I've been bad and when I've been, and I can tell when I've been good, and and it's hard to let go of certain things in your diet, and when you are a type 2 that is not bad, but you don't necessarily feel huge, like I don't get huge sugar spikes in my blood, that kind of thing. So I don't, I can tell more if I'm having a low glycemic day than a high glycemic day, and I know when I need to get a piece of hard candy or whatever, those kind of things. So talk about choices in for those of us who are diabetic. There are a lot of things out there. You think, okay, vegetables or fruits, but there are high glycemic fruits, lower glycemic fruits. What are good choices to you say, okay, I'm going to be good, and I'm going to have, instead of that Snickers bar, I'm going to have a piece of fruit for my midday snack or mid-morning or mid-afternoon snack. Talk about some good choices there that are lower glycemic, that are good choices for diabetics.
I will come back to that. Good
Okay.
choices. But I'm going to circle back to a few things that you just said about how you can feel when you are eating bad and you can feel when you're eating good. I think you may have phrased it as being bad or being good. And that is a very common thought process that people have. If I choose this Snickers bar over the peaches and yogurt that I have in my fridge, I'm being bad. And it's just not the case. Our environment is set up for all of us to fail at a healthy diet, at consuming a healthy diet. All you have to do is walk into a gas station or a grocery store and look around, and it is actually hard to find food that is worthy of eating, especially gas stations. I'm in all the time with my kids, and we walk in a gas station, it's just trash everywhere. And there's a small central little area where there's some, hard-boiled eggs and salads and fruit and, things of that nature. And the foods in that one small little section are triple the price of all of the other foods that you see around it. So, I just want any listeners out there that have that feeling of like, oh, I've made a bad choice, I'm bad. No, our environment is bad. The way that just our whole entire food environment is set up is what is bad, not us as people. We are just trying to navigate it the best that we can, and it's really, really hard. So when you're making the better choice, it's not that you're being good necessarily. You are fighting against a very bad environment that we're set up in. So foods for, lower glycemic foods, you want carbohydrates that also have protein, or that also have fiber and vitamins and minerals, for example. So if you choose a honey bun, for example, is just straight up processed flour, processed sugar, right? So you're going to have a greater spike with that. There's no fiber in there. There's no vitamins. There's no minerals. There's no protein. There may be some fat. Usually it's saturated fat or trans fat. So it's not the fat that you would want. the foods that you want are the foods that, if you're going to eat a carbohydrate, it's a carbohydrate with other things in it. And I like to look at food as being either dead or alive. And this is a strange way to look at it, but it makes the most sense to me. And I feel like maybe it would resonate with someone else. But, back to the peaches and yogurt versus the Snickers bar. Okay, the Snickers bar, it's, processed free sugar. You got some peanuts in there, right? So a minute amount of like healthy fat in the peanut maybe. But then you have, peaches. That is a living food. It's fruits and vegetables in general are a living food. You can actually see veins in that food.
Mhm.
There's this food. It grows from the ground. It's living. And then yogurt has live cultures in it. So if you choose a high protein yogurt, add peaches, which is your sweet, to it. Maybe even a drizzle of honey, which is a natural sugar. And even honey has more than just sugar. I don't think we even know what all is in honey, but it's much more complicated than your processed added sugar is. And I think is more beneficial to health than regular sugar. So just looking at the food as what can I gain the most from? What do I gain? Do I gain more from the Snickers, or do I gain more from the peaches and the yogurt? And looking at it that way, but not beating yourself up when you make a choice that's maybe not the best one, because what is life without the occasional Snickers bar?
That's right. Exactly. And, the hard part is that, and you touched on it, that our environment does not make making the healthy choice easy all of the time.
Almost never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you're moving through your life making the hard choice. And that can be exhausting, especially for someone who's struggling with depression or anxiety or like any other, you're just stress in general. You're already making all of these decisions in your life on a daily basis, and you're already overwhelmed. Are you going to have the capacity to make the hard food choice day in and day out all day? No, and you just can't beat yourself up for that. But it is, you can reach out to a dietitian that can help you in the planning part of it, to where you can make a plan, and then you can talk things out. When you make, a decision after decision after decision that you don't feel good about, you can process that with the dietitian. They can help, with that planning portion.
And one good way to do that is when you see your primary care physician, and just ask, hey, where are some good resources? And they're all going to give you good ideas on where to find that information. We need to step aside and come back with our final segment. Dr. Sarah Harris of MTSU. We're talking nutrition, we're talking food, and we're going to be talking the holidays coming up right after this on the Big G, WGNS.
For 75 years, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic has been a cornerstone of health and compassion in our community. From our humble beginnings to the advanced, comprehensive care we offer today, our commitment to you has never wavered. With 8 locations across Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee and over 100 physicians, we continue to provide the highest standard of care. Then, now, and always, your health is our mission.
Sign-ups are going on right now for First Shot's Winter Basketball League in Rutherford County. Coach Andy Herzer guides kids to sharpen basketball skills and build teamwork through exciting clinics and games. Since 2003, First Shot has empowered youth to grow in mind, spirit, and body. Don't miss out, join the fun, and develop lifelong skills. Visit firstshottn.org today and register for the Winter Basketball League. That's firstshottn.org. Sign-ups are going on right now for First Shot's Winter Basketball League in Rutherford County. Coach Andy Herzer guides kids to sharpen basketball skills and build teamwork through exciting clinics and games. Since 2003, First Shot has empowered youth to grow in mind, spirit, and body. Don't miss out, join the fun, and develop lifelong skills. Visit firstshottn.org today and register for the Winter Basketball League. That's firstshottn.org.
50 fresh, flavorful seasons at the Rutherford County Farmers Market.
You bringing your tomatoes this Friday?
Sure am. Picked fresh this morning.
Then I'll bring the sourdough.
Rutherford County Farmers Market, Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 to 1 at Lane Agri Park in Murfreesboro.
This is Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb and Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market shift and change. People often ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
This is Kim Dunaway from Sunshine Nutrition Center. You hear me on Monday mornings at 7:20 talking about how to lead a healthier lifestyle. We carry supplements, personal care, and grocery items at both our Murfreesboro and Smyrna locations, family owned and operated since 1989.
I'm on Deadman's Bend at midnight when my gas light pops on. I see a gas station ahead. Just my luck. Or is it? I walk in. The attendant lifts a bony finger towards me and croaks, "You want a Halloween jumbo bucks?" I whisper it terrified, "No." And as I leave, he asks the lady behind me. She says, "Okay." And then, she wants $75,000.
Scare up some cash with the Halloween Jumbo Bucks instant game. Only from the Tennessee Lottery. Game-changing, hair-raising fun. Please play responsibly.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Welcome back into the Roundtable on this Wednesday. Dr. Sarah Harris of MTSU joins us. We have really interesting, and we talked about sports performance. We've talked about food for those of us who are getting a little long in the tooth. And you mentioned at the very end of the last segment, people who are suffering with depression and things like that. And there are more and more, I don't know whether there are more people now or more people who are willing to talk about it or what, but the way you eat can it affect your mental state as well?
They both affect each other. So your mental state affects how you eat. It affects your choices, and your choices can affect your mental state, especially if you're choosing food or drinks that have an addictive quality to them, which added sugars, sugar in general, has an addictive effect to it. It raises your dopamine levels, so it keeps you seeking more and more and more of that feeling, which then gives you this rise and fall of your your blood sugar levels, and then it just kind of creates a roller coaster in your mind when you eat really high sugar foods. But again, like I said earlier, it's easy to just choose those when you're already in a down mental state, and you're already, that decision fatigue that you get when you're down, and it's just harder to make those good choices. Having somebody talking to and working with can be so helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Another area, as a nutrition professional that you are, how concerned are you with families who have food insecurities at this time? Because prices are going up everywhere, and families are having to deal with that with the grocery bill, and it makes it sometimes a lot easier to, okay, let's find the cheaper choice, and it might not always be the best choice, and everybody is suffering from that to some degree these days.
Yes, my dissertation was on food insecurity in the college student, specifically at MTSU. And my research showed that 52% of the student population at MTSU
What's your plan to
is
turn the
living in a
tides?
state of food insecurity, which was shocking. And then about a quarter of our students, so around 24%, are actually living in a state of very low food insecurity, or very low food security, sorry, where they, are actually going hungry, and may even be considered malnourished. So that was huge research that I just did, that I'm working on publishing now. It is published through MTSU, but it was very eye-opening, and just in doing that research, learning how pervasive that is across the board. I think it's around 12% of Tennesseans are food insecure, so 1 in every 10. And you're right, prices are only rising. Everything is rising. Our incomes are not rising at the same rate, so it is becoming harder and harder and harder to afford better foods. And I will argue this all day. Healthier foods do cost more, period.
Yeah.
There are some people that like to say, like, oh, eating healthy doesn't have to cost more. It just really does. So, unless you have a massive amount of time to cook from scratch, which we are all working 2 and 3 jobs, how can we do that? So it's a hard place to be in. Again, that goes back to planning, and budgeting is really important, making sure you have a tight household budget. And even with the world's best budgeting, you may still not be able to find enough money for food. Thankfully, there are resources like SNAP. The federal program used to be called food stamps. And there's food pantries at various churches around. If you Google it, you can find resources where you can get help in that area. I think resources are becoming harder to come by for those food pantries, but they are out there, and there's people willing to help. So,
yeah. Well, in one of those, you talked about the MTSU students that 52% have some sort of food insecurity. That makes the Raider Pantry even more important. And for folks who are listening, you can make donations of food or dollars to the Raider Pantry to help MTSU students. And when you think about a population of 22,000 students, that means that somewhere around 11 or 12,000 are not eating, may not know where that next meal is going to be coming from. You can make a difference in a student's life there with the pantry. I know in town you've got the Nourish food pantry off Memorial Boulevard that it's been going through its struggles recently, but Second Harvest Food Bank does such a great job in nearly 60 counties across Middle Tennessee. So there are a lot of, and you'll see, individual, like you mentioned, individual churches, they open their doors for folks. So with that being in mind, keep those folks in your mind, especially this time of year, as we get closer to the holidays. And we are just about a month and a half away from, well, number one, we've got Halloween coming up. Give me, as a nutritionist now, what are good trick-or-treat treats? Are there such thing as healthy treats to give on Halloween?
listen, I'm not the person that this is not very dietitian of me, but I'm going to tell you to eat the candy.
Yeah.
To enjoy the day, get the best candy, steal it from your kid, enjoy it, And then when you've had enough, you're tired of having it around your house, throw it away or give it to someone else. Put it in a bowl at work, share with others. There's different ways to get rid of it, but enjoy it until you are tired of it and move on.
There you go. Okay, now after that we get to Thanksgiving and Christmas, and let's talk about some meal planning to have if you want to have somewhat of a healthier Thanksgiving and Christmas. When you think about it, the big stars of Thanksgiving, the turkey and the ham, those are great for you.
Yeah, you can make sure half your plate has just all the different delicious meats. You know what? I'm gonna back up there too, though. If it's Thanksgiving Day, or if it's your big Thanksgiving meal, or if it's Christmas Day and it's your big Christmas meal, there's no need to be your best, healthiest self. Like, you can enjoy that day. The issue comes when you make it the whole month. Parties every week, or you got work, the treats everywhere all the time. That's where it becomes problematic, when it just becomes your lifestyle for the holiday. And then you've got 10 or 15 extra pounds that come January, New Year's Day, you're like, okay, it's not the best rhythm. But you've got those 2 days, even you could even say 3 days, Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and there's other holidays.
Yeah.
Well, take advantage of that day, enjoy it. If you want to feel better that day about yourself in some way, eat more of the protein, right? And have smaller portions of the rest, but enjoy it, is my best advice.
Well, so what are your in your house? I have to believe you've got to be a good cook.
No.
You're not?
Listen, I may be judged for this, and that's okay, because it is my reality. I hate cooking.
Really?
I hate it. Yeah. The cooking part's not my favorite. I enjoy eating.
Yeah.
But the actual cooking, I think if there's somewhere along the lines of having 2 jobs, 2 kids, homeschooling, etc., the joy of cooking, if I were to enjoy cooking, I would need a few hours to plan, shop, prepare without being interrupted. Then I would enjoy cooking. But as my life is right now, I don't like it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And I'm not, this is no judgment zone here at all. But it is so what are your favorites now? Since you're not going to cook them, what are your favorites on Thanksgiving?
I don't like it.
Do what?
I said I do cook, I just don't like to.
Okay.
But you know what? Deviled eggs are my jam on.
Really?
Yeah.
I've got to turn my Southern boy card in, because people are gonna. I cannot get on the deviled egg train. I mean, I'm a little better than I used to be, but it's not what I go for.
Well, listen, Chip, you know why?
Why?
Well, because it's just protein. And you're getting up, as we all are, in years, and you don't want the protein. You want the carbs.
Got it.
But listen, my deviled eggs, the reason I like making them is because I make them with vinegar, salt, and I make them spicy. So I put jalapeno or cayenne. I like a spicy deviled egg, maybe with a little bacon crumbles on top. I mean, they're good. So maybe it's just the problem is you haven't had my deviled egg yet.
Well, I'll be awaiting that invite here anytime soon to check those out. Yeah, the other thing that because your tastes do change over time, and whether and I'm sure it's all mental, but I used to, my mother would fix turnip greens in the house, and number one, the smell of turnip greens there's nothing appetizing about that, and so I wouldn't eat them. But now, if I'm out somewhere and there's barbecue or whatever, and turnip greens is a side, or if I go to Clearview or wherever down here that, there's, I'm going to get greens now. So that's one of those things that's changed internally for me.
Happy memories that you have with food, with grandparents or aunts or uncles, as a child, like the smells and the tastes of childhood, there is something to be said for that. It comes back around and you start to appreciate it, because there's so much more to eating than just the food. There's the people that you share the meal with. There's the feelings around the food. There's memories around food and drink. Something spiritual can happen even around a table with food.
Yeah.
And friends. So there is so much more to it than just the nutrients from the food themselves. Yeah.
I got you there. And I agree with that 100%, because I think about walking in my grandmother's house and smelling her biscuits, or things like that. And I can see her kitchen in my head right now, just thinking about it. And the same with my mother, that kind of thing, or, a family fish fry or whatever it might be. And it all conjures up and brings back good memories. We've got about a minute left. And with that, I'll kind of give you the floor and your wish list, your wishes for folks as they move forward into the last quarter of this year and into the first quarter of next year, as far as their nutrition for themselves and their families go. What good piece of sage advice would the good doctor give them right now?
I have 3 points that I would actually want to make to someone. And we didn't even touch on these things. This could take up a whole other segment. Rethink your alcohol consumption. Alcohol is 7 calories per gram. And it is processed as a toxin in your body. I could go on and on about that, but rethink your alcohol consumption. If you're having, mental health issues, depression, joint pain, brain fog, memory issues, that would be number 1. Number 2 would be rethink your caffeine consumption. These are very unpopular things for me to say, so I'm sorry.
You're hitting me hard right here, Sarah. Come on.
If you have, reflux, gastrointestinal issues, if you're irregular, your bowel habits are irregular, or if you feel really, really sluggish, again, brain fog throughout the day, etc., rethink the caffeine consumption. That can sneak up on you, and you don't realize you're drinking 1,000 milligrams a day at some point in your life, and it really affects your brain negatively. And it is processed as a drug. Caffeine is a drug. And another thing about caffeine, if you have middle schoolers, elementary school, high schoolers, if they have cash, they're buying energy drinks at gas stations without you knowing. So keep tabs on your little ones. They are out there sneaking energy drinks, and those are addictive and they're dangerous for kids. Okay, and then my third one would be just try to prioritize foods outside of processed added sugar. So if you can choose a food with no processed added sugar, that would be the best thing you could do. Those are my 3 things: alcohol, caffeine, and processed added sugar.
All right. Those are good ones. And this has been a fun hour, and the time has just flown by. And thank you for making some time today. We'll have to do this again and dive into those 3 subjects. That could take a while. And but want to wish you and your family a big holiday coming up. And thanks again. It's been great.
That's great. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Sarah Harris from MTSU joining us, talking nutrition. If you missed any of this, you can go to the podcast section of wgnsradio.com. We'll have another show for you coming up next week. So keep it here all the time, all day on the Big G, WGNS. Have a good day, everybody.
Subscribe to Big G TV, local content that matters to Rutherford County.